First of all, you're ruining your own reputation. Secondly, you're betraying your profession, your professional oath. Thirdly, you are betraying your country because you're doing harm to your country, because you're creating the impression that this administration cannot be fought for all of the illegalities that we've been talking about.
Right.
This is an administration that is punishing people because the president is a convicted felon and is angry that he was almost brought to justice, and he wants to inflict harm on the government, and also his people he wants to inflict harm on our legal system, and he also wants to deter people from fighting back to all the illegal things he's doing.
A moment on live television may have just created a lasting legacy for Donald Trump. This event wasn't a tweet, a courtroom outburst, or a typical campaign rally speech. It was something entirely different, an unscripted moment that could become a defining point of his public image for years to come.
Well, there is no new Donald Trump. The Donald Trump that you see today is the same Donald Trump that people who have been watching him closely for years, and who I unfortunately had to watch over the last several years. It's the same Donald Trump.
No, this was different. This was the public dismantling of the Trump myth, stripped apart piece by piece in front of millions. And the person delivering the blow? Not a prosecutor, not Joe Biden, not even a journalist. It was George Conway, the one man Trump cannot easily dismiss, silence, or control. Conway did what Trump's enemies, rivals, and even prosecutors have struggled to do. He exposed not only Trump's political failures and legal disasters, but something far more personal. Something Trump fears above all else. His marriage.
And then she shook his hand, and he was like, and then, and she had to hold on, but she, and then she said, she kept looking at him the whole time, like, are you okay?
Yeah. It was like,
and then there was the what the did he say?
Yeah. There were a couple of moments that
the looks were great, and he would not look at her, and it's like it was a total power play.
George Conway, a conservative lawyer with decades of experience in America's legal system, didn't come on screen to trade cheap insults. He came armed with facts, strategy, and a surgeon's precision. He started with Trump's legal troubles. He accused the former president of betraying his profession, betraying the Constitution, and betraying the very country he once swore to serve. This is an administration, Conway said, run by a convicted felon, punishing people because he was almost brought to justice. A man determined to inflict harm on our legal system, to deter anyone from fighting back. It was devastating.
This is an administration that is punishing people because the president is a convicted felon and is angry that he was almost brought to justice, and he wants to inflict harm on the government, and also his people he wants to inflict harm on our legal system, and he also wants to deter people from fighting back to all the illegal things he's doing. And when you capitulate to him, you are encouraging them to send more people to El Salvador, including potentially American citizens, because they want to create a system where everybody's too afraid.
Unlike most critics, Conway wasn't yelling. He wasn't laughing. He was calm, surgical, almost clinical. And that made it hit even harder. While Trump raged like a man unhinged, Conway dissected him like a case file. Conway then pivoted to money, the one thing Trump has always worshipped above all else.
Agree more, Tim, and I think there are two levels upon which you can look at it. First off is one of the things that authoritarians do is they divide and conquer. You think you're alone, you don't want to be singled out, so you capitulate. And that sets an example for the next one. That's the general level, and that applies to corporations, it applies to media entities, for example.
He explained how top law firms and corporations were bowing to Trump's threats, not out of loyalty, but out of greed. They feared that if they resisted him, the government wouldn't approve their lucrative deals. But Conway, with 3 decades of experience in mergers and acquisitions law, cut through the charade.
This is a law firm. These are the people you hire to defend yourself when you have been wronged. These are the people who you would hire to defend yourself against wrongful action by the government against your business. And if they capitulate like wormy cowards the way they have, what is that? That's the message that in particular sense.
The message was clear. Trump's chaos wasn't just political, it was financial suicide. And Conway warned, the firms propping him up are just as foolish as the man they're protecting. But then came the bombshell. The part that made anchors lean forward, social media explode, and Trump's inner circle shift nervously in their seats. George Conway brought up Melania, not as a bystander, not as the silent first lady, but as Trump's greatest threat.
And then she said, she kept looking at him the whole time, like, are you okay?
Yeah. It was like,
and then there was the what the did he say?
yeah. There were a couple of moments that
the looks were great, and he would not look at her, and it's like it was a total power play on him.
He said her silence is not loyalty, it is leverage. Every cold glance, every public absence, every sudden reappearance, they are not random, they are calculated. And if Conway is right, Melania may be holding the single most dangerous weapon against Trump: evidence. The possibility sent shockwaves through the political world. Because if the former First Lady flips, if she ever chooses to speak openly, she could destroy Trump in ways no prosecutor ever could. Of course, Trump didn't stay quiet. He never does. He lashed out at Conway in the way he lashes out at everyone who dares to criticize him. Mockery and name-calling. He called Conway a loser. He ridiculed the Lincoln Project. He tried to turn the insult into a punchline, but here's the difference.
President Trump today blasting George Conway, husband of his senior advisor Kellyanne Conway, as a total.
Trump's attacks sounded desperate, weak, because the audience wasn't just hearing gossip. They were watching a political autopsy.
After his 2020 campaign manager took a shot at George Conway, tweeting he hurts his wife because he's jealous of her success.
Conway wasn't trading playground insults. He was dismantling Trump like a case in front of a jury. And this time, the jury wasn't in a courtroom. It was the American public.
But Conway's turned into one of President Trump's fiercest critics, attacking, even mocking him on a daily basis. The latest suggesting the president's not mentally fit to serve, even posting from the American Psychiatric Association's Manual of Disorder.
He's a narcissistic sociopath. He's a psychopath. He's a malignant narcissist. All these, it's like a Venn diagram, right? Remember those from school? All of those circles kind of coincide. Narcissist, sociopath, they coincide. Donald Trump's in the middle of all of them.
Conway didn't stop there. He described how Melania has perfected the art of survival. She stays close enough to see everything, but far enough to escape the blast. According to Conway, she has been documenting every implosion, every meltdown, every threat, every whispered conversation, not to shield Trump, but to shield herself. And that means one thing. When the time is right, she can walk away, not empty-handed, but with enough ammunition to bring down the empire Trump has built. For Trump, the idea that his own wife may hold the key to his destruction is more terrifying than any courtroom. Then Conway did something even more shocking. He went where many critics fear to tread, Trump's mental state. He didn't mince words. He called Trump unstable, erratic, narcissistic, and dangerous. Conway compared Trump's recent rants to the ramblings of someone detached from reality, and then he tied it back to Melania. She knows this better than anyone. She has seen it behind closed doors. The tirades, the paranoia, the chaos. Her silence, Conway argued, is not about loyalty. It's about self-preservation. She is not standing by him. She is standing by herself. And that's when Conway delivered the line that landed like a thunderclap. Trump's downfall will not come from prosecutors. It will not come from the media. It will come from a betrayal he never saw coming. The implication was crystal clear. If Melania flips, if she ever decides to pull back the curtain, the empire crumbles. Not just politically, not just legally, but personally. The myth of Trump as the strongman, the untouchable kingmaker, would vanish overnight. And here's the chilling part. Conway might be right. The cracks are already showing. His party is splintering. His rallies are shrinking. His donors are disappearing. Even Fox News is cutting away from his speeches when they spiral into nonsense. The myth of Trump as unstoppable is collapsing, and the collapse is accelerating. Conway ended with a warning that sounded less like analysis and more like prophecy. The strongman image only works as long as people believe it. Once those closest to him stop believing, the facade collapses. And perhaps Trump knows this. Maybe that's why he fears Melania's silence more than her words. Because silence can be broken. And when it is, when she finally speaks, it could bring down not just a marriage, but a movement. And so the question hangs over America like a storm cloud. Has Melania already been keeping records? Has she already been preparing her exit strategy? And if she has, what happens the day she decides to use it? Because history is clear. Empires don't fall from outside, they collapse from within. And Donald Trump's greatest threat may not be the prosecutors, the media, or the GOP. It may be the woman standing silently beside